Welcome back to Filter. I'm Diane Mizota, counting down your favorite Dreamcast games of all time. With 7 down and 3 to go, let's review where we've been so far. Virtua Tennis serves up a winner and aces the number 10 spot. House of the Dead 2 brings arcade action to the living room and occupies 9th place. Fighting its way into the 8th slot is the melding of fisticuffs and fine jewelry, Power Stone. Skies of Arcadia takes to the clouds and flies into the number 7 slot. Vandalizing the competition at number 6 is Jet Grind Radio. The world's first online console RPG claims the 5th spot in the form of Phantasy Star Online. And Crazy Taxi goes off the beaten path to take the number 4 slot. In the number 3 title, there is no beaten path. It's up to you to create the path yourself in Yu Suzuki's open-ended masterpiece, Shenmue.
Shenmue is a still incredibly controversial game. You either love it or hate it.
It was an interesting game. I think it was a little bit too much like real life.
Sometimes the dialogue was a little crazy and you didn't understand because of through the translation.
What do you know about the incident? The incident? Yes. What do you know about the incident? You should ask the old lady. Ask the old lady about the incident.
The day of the incident.
The day of the incident?
So it's really stunted, long-winded dialogue where I'm just like hitting the button like, okay, let's go, let's find the old lady now.
It was a very different experience for games. We still haven't seen anything quite like it since, but unfortunately, it was a game that was mired with the Dreamcast's failure. It was definitely one of Sega's most expensive games they've ever made, and unfortunately, it didn't do too well for them.
Shenmue was unusual in that the game's environment was completely interactive. While Shenmue was different, the Dreamcast also had its share of flat-out bizarre games. But which ones were the most bizarre?
Dreamcast had tons of cool, weird games. Sega's known for their classic foy.
My favorite one was Samba de Amigo. It had crazy cartoon monkeys.
My personal favorite would be Choo Choo Rocket.
Choo Choo Rocket was the first console online game, I believe. It was created by Sonic Team initially internally as an experiment for Dreamcast's online connectivity, and they decided to release it as a game in itself.
Another one of my favorite ones was Typing of the Dead.
You could use the keyboard and basically play House of the Dead, but instead of shooting, you had to type out a sentence quickly enough so you could shoot the zombies.
Space Channel 5 was another pretty bizarre offering from Sega. It was basically a music game, but it featured Ooh La La swishing around like a model, so this is really quite like nothing that team had done before.
Well, definitely the most bizarre Dreamcast game, without a question, is Seaman.
Came packaged with a microphone, and basically the idea was that you nurtured this bizarre underwater creature and eventually developed a relationship with it.
Ask him how his day's going, he'll ask you how your day's going. So basically corresponding with a fish.
And so eventually it would sort of make these sort of unnerving observations about your life or ask you why you weren't home at the regular time and stuff like that. That pretty much takes the cake in terms of bizarre, though.
Okay, we've reached the point in the show where you determine the number 1 Dreamcast game of all time. So are you about adventure or do you believe in soul? Sonic Adventure followed the exploits of the world's most famous blue hedgehog after his 128-bit facelift. Although the game stayed true to its platforming roots, it marked the first time Sonic had ever appeared in the 3rd dimension. Soul Calibur was the killer app of the Dreamcast launch, and even today it still wows anyone who sees it. But which of these Dreamcast launch titles is the best of all time? The only way to find out is to check out the Filter Face-Off.
Well, Sonic Adventure is, I think, what everyone bought the Dreamcast for when it first came out. They wanted to see Sonic in full 3D. Sonic is a great character to show processor speed. I mean, he's just running full blast and, you know, the environment's moving really quickly, and it was a very impressive title for the Dreamcast at that time.
Oh, that game was sweet. Sweet graphics, sweet levels, especially the courses. Most of the loops and stuff they have on it, so it makes it fun.
It was just fast and furious when you played the Sonic character. You could play as other characters, you know, from the series. Just kind of a fun game. Some people didn't like, you know, the open environments, kind of the adventure part of the game, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Soul Soul Calibur is the game that sold the Dreamcast. It was just incredible. I mean, out of nowhere, this great, deep, gorgeous fighting game.
It was a one-on-one fighting game where the players fought with, like, weapons. It was pretty much the first game of that kind, so it was a pace setter in that genre.
In a certain sense, I think the original Dreamcast version of Soul Calibur was more impressive than the sequels that came out last year for PS2, Xbox, and the GameCube.
If there's one game that people still have the Dreamcast and they're still playing it on, it's probably Soul Calibur. People even probably have that super glued into their Dreamcast and they never take it out.
You'd be pretty hard-pressed to find someone who doesn't agree that these are the top 2 Dreamcast games of all time. But only one can be crowned the champion, and based on your votes, the best Dreamcast game of all time is Soul Calibur. The best part of this countdown is that you can buy most of these games for less than 20 bucks. Well, that wraps up this episode of Filter. Remember, the opinions expressed on this show are yours, not mine. So make your vote count on future episodes by logging on to the Filter show page at g4tv.com/filter. Until then, I'm Diane Mizota, and I'll see you next time.